This is a 49-inch super ultra-wide monitor, and you've definitely seen this format before, from brands like Samsung with the G9 or LG with the Ultra Gear monitors that cost an absolute fortune, and usually for a good reason. They're jam-packed with the latest tech and the best qualities you can get. But what if you didn't need all that? What if you could get the same size and format for way less money? And realistically, what's it like to live with a monitor that is this big? That's what I'll be looking into today with this model, the Twisted Mind 49-inch. It runs at a refresh rate of 120Hz with a resolution of 5120 by 1440. It's a curved VA panel with a 1500R curve, rated at 1 millisecond response time, and it covers 126% of the sRGB and 98% of the DCI-P3 color space. It supports both G-Sync and FreeSync, and as for the ports, you will get a DisplayPort, a HDMI, and a 65-watt USB-C. So what's it like using this as a daily? As someone who uses a 49-inch LG OLED as a monitor, I was genuinely surprised to find that this monitor is actually wider. And while it's noticeably shorter on the vertical aspect, that ended up being far less of an issue than I expected. So let's start with gaming. So in some games, this honestly feels like cheating. League of Legends is a perfect example. You can see both towers in the same frame. That's borderline broken. That pretty much means you're getting more information than any other player. Well, most likely, unless they have a 49-inch. But this concept applies to most games that support the 32:9 aspect ratio, which is more than you'd expect. And if games don't support it natively, there's usually a mod that enables it for you. In shooters like Battlefield, the extra width isn't about seeing enemies sooner, it's about the immersion. You can lower your in-game FOV because extra vision comes from the physical space that the screen is providing, which makes targets appear larger and easier to track, and it fills in your entire peripheral vision with actual game world space, which massively improves on how the game feels. So despite being narrower than my LG OLED, I don't really feel like I'm missing much. Now that's mostly because I can place this monitor closer to me and the curve wraps around my field of view very nicely. This kind of experience normally requires a triple monitor setup, and even then you're dealing with bezels, NVIDIA Surround, and the hassle of managing multiple displays instead of one clean setup. Sim games are where this format really shines. Flight Simulator is a perfect example. I found myself jumping into it way more than any other time. The colors look great despite the lack of HDR, and I'd argue this almost feels like an external VR setup, especially if you're using head tracking. 120Hz is more than enough for this kind of experience, and if you're serious about competitive gaming, the aspect ratio itself is a much bigger hurdle than the 120Hz limit. So that naturally brings us to the downsides of having such a setup. Games like CSGO and Valorant are locked into a narrow aspect ratio, which means black bars are going to be placed on the left and right side of the monitor. If competitive shooters are your main thing, this is simply not the right monitor for you. And the same goes for content consumption. There's simply no native videos out there for you. Productivity, however, is one of this monitor's strong points. Video editing benefits massively from the extra horizontal space, timelines are easier to work with, and multitasking becomes effortless. Running 3 or even 4 windows side by side feels natural. This is also why this format is extremely popular for trading setups, and often recommended by professionals who need lots of information visible at once. If AAA gaming is your priority and you want a genuinely different way of experiencing your games, this is a big win. If you want a cleaner desk setup without multiple monitors but still need tons of screen space, that's another win. If you do video editing, web browsing, or productivity heavy work, this format makes a lot of sense. What would push me away was if I was spending much time in competitive shooters, watching a lot of movies on my PC, or simply chasing the pure visual upgrade like going to an OLED or having a proper HDR setup. So in short, this isn't for everyone. But if you know exactly what you're getting into, then this is an incredibly fun experience and actually practical overall, especially considering how affordable it is compared to the bigger brands. I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a like, stay subscribed for future content, and I'll see you next time.